I've sold 6 companies. Most people never sell 6 companies in their lifetime.
It's like when you're driving, right? Look way out in front of you, right here, look way out. And the bigger the business gets, the further your head has to be up, the further out you have to be looking.
Everybody, welcome to Exit Rich. I have a good friend of mine, was a keynote last year, Josh Sparks at Roofing Conference. Josh has built a business, and he's did it himself. Went from being a roofer, a bad upbringing, to building a company that's worth over $500 million plus from nothing. And that's why I love your story, Josh. And you're a more down to earth dude I've ever met. You are like a blue collar. Yeah, you are. I know you're a CEO, but we're going to talk about it and jump in.
True.
You are the most down to earth dude I've ever met. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you for coming back, and definitely thank you for speaking last year at the conference, bro.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Lance. Always good to see you. It was fantastic, that conference last year. You put on a heck of a show, a Lance show for sure. It's funny you mentioned blue collar. I found some old RCA tapes. You remember those little tapes you used to have, the big camcorders?
Yeah.
I found those back from early 2000s, and there's some of me on a roof, and there's some, it's me wheeling my motorcycle, which was not good for my 16-year-old kid. He saw me, wheeling on the freeway. I'm like, oh man, I didn't used to do that, buddy. But yeah, it's interesting. I did come from nothing, and I'm very fortunate to find myself where I am today.
Tell people about Infinity and what you do, and you have a very different model because you have taken PE money. You have taken money. You've grown, but you have a very different model than the other PE firms. You have a very strong personality about it.
Well, yeah, if you look behind me, my vision since 2005 was to rid the world of unscrupulous contractors. It's kind of interesting. You and I were chatting before we went live here, and you say this industry has plenty of money to go around, right? There's lots of roofs that need to be done. There are ways to do this roofing business where you can be profitable, you can pay people well, you can kind of spread the wealth, if you will. And then there's other ways to do it. The Jack Welch of the world, the guy who ran GE and almost bankrupted that business, taking it from $600 billion down to, a value of $600 billion down to $100 billion because he prioritized profitability over people. And it's that type of short-term thinking, trying to meet the EBITDA goals per the quarter, in which you put programs like he had, which was the rank and yank program. This is when you take every task.
Most people don't know who Jack Welch is and talk about winning and how he wrote the book and about how you just sprayed at you. Just tell them and you were gone.
Well, yeah, exactly. They asked every manager in an organization to rank their people, and then it would take the bottom 10% and require them to fly out. We did it right before the end of every quarter, so they could make 50 basis points better in their quarterly earnings calls, which would bring short-term profitability to the business. But what ended up happening was it was a nightmare on the culture. And when he left, it was just a house of cards, and the company tanked because I think it's a misnomer that people think, we're a people-first organization, right? I care about people. And oftentimes when you say that, people say, oh, that means you don't care about profitability. That couldn't be further from the truth. It just couldn't. You can have the best of both worlds. You build an organization that prioritizes its people. You give them ownership and accountability over what they're supposed to be doing. You hold them accountable to that. And in doing so, you create a long-term prosperous organization. And that's exactly what we're building here at IHS.
Most people don't think you can have, you see my leadership team has been with me for years. People have been with me for years. They go from company to company with me.
Yeah.
People don't realize that you can treat people well, pay them well, be profitable, and still grow. People think it just has to be about them as the leaders. When you're looking, how many acquisitions have you done total now? I know you sold twice. You sold your company twice. You sold it first, then you stayed with them, and you built it up, then you sold it again. Where they were looking for a CEO to replace you for a while, right? You guys were going through the process, and you showed that you were the guy. You don't have a college degree. You don't have an executive MBA.
No.
You're running a monster machine. I'd be willing to bet that you might be the only person in the roofing business running the machine at your size that doesn't have a college degree. I'd be willing to bet. I'm just I'm thinking about all the guys I know from Vertex, LA, Persia. They all are Ivy League school guys for the most part, and you're not. And I'm just, there might be one. I'm not, but like college and no college, and how'd you get here? You can't be qualified.
Yeah, but what do you learn in college, Lance? What do you learn in college these days? Serious question. And even
You know,
back when I was a kid,
so you're talking to the wrong guy. You know this.
right? But even back when I was a kid, what you learn in college is you learn how to learn, unless you're a specialty, right? I'm reading a book right now called Range. The most successful people in the world have range. They have broad depth and understanding on multiple different disciplines. They know how to learn. They know how to achieve results in the world. And that's what I've done. I mean, I think it's often said that 15 or 20 years in business, you get an honorary MBA. And so maybe I do have an honorary MBA now, having been in business for so long. But look, going to
a doctorate after what you built, I want a doctorate, my friend. I'll be okay. Yeah, I told you I've always been a fan of yours. Like when I got into this space, yes or no? I saw what you built. I got to meet you. You flew in. I was blown away.
Right. Yeah. Look, yeah, you're right. I don't have a college degree. I don't have that piece of paper, but I did go to the I wasn't military. I was a Marine Corps reservist. Got some leadership skills there. Applied those skills over now a very long career. I'll be 46 years this month. I spent my entire adult life in the roofing business. But look, I have prioritized learning. I have read thousands of books over the last 2 decades to try to improve myself. I don't think having a stamp from a prestigious university makes you a good leader. And in fact, I think it's the opposite half the time. Because a lot of these people didn't have diversity. A lot of these people didn't have any economic uncertainty. They didn't have hard times in their life that they're going to make them fight through difficult situations. Being an entrepreneur is freaking difficult. And it's so funny that a lot of these PE companies and just educated people, the elite of the world, think that, oh man, I'm just going to get this college educated kid and have him go run a roofing business. It's like, well, good luck, because the first time that they have a project manager cussing them out and a homeowner screaming at them and a sales guy wanting to get paid more money and everything else and marketing falling apart, and then it rains and you don't sleep for a decade because every time it rains, there's a problem. Yeah, good luck. So
it's the irony is, and listen, I'm friends with all the guys, in this space. I'm friends with everyone. Like it's my personality. I believe there's multiple ways to build a skyscraper, right? I've always said it to people. People are like, there's no magic bullet, but I do believe one thing. We were talking about it earlier. Every entrepreneur has such grit and they're willing to suffer and sacrifice to get success. They're willing to go through the pain of being successful because I said to my son the other day, I said, you want to be a state champ again this year? There's only one way through it, and that's through hell. Like that's just that sport, right? It's hell. There's only one way to be successful as an entrepreneur when you're starting out, right? I know strategy and learning helps you get there that much faster and self-investment.
Yeah.
When you're starting out, you go through hell. Can you talk about that? Because you've had to go through hell.
Yeah. And some of these other PE-backed firms are doing great things out there. Obviously I think we're unique and I think we're doing things the right way, but hiring young folks out of college and giving them opportunity to succeed in the world, that's something that we do as well. It's the arrogance that I hear talked about when I'm in a meeting, when I'm in you're talking to a new PE firm that's like, hey, these entrepreneurs have no idea what they're doing. They don't even know how to run a business. All I have to do is fire them and put somebody else in place and it'll run 10 times better because they're college educated. It's that type of mentality that I think is hurtful. But some of these other big PE firms that are out there trying to do the right thing, they're building training programs, they have internal leadership and development programs. Nothing wrong with that. There's founders that are aging out, that don't want to run their businesses anymore, and they want to sell their business and monetize their asset. Absolutely, hire someone, put someone in place to run that business, or promote somebody from within.
A lot of people think private equity is bad. There's mixed reviews on it, right? These guys come in, this like, hey, listen, you don't call yourself private equity, but there is a piece of that you are, right? You're investing, you're deploying capital, right? It might be you control it all, but it's still, you're deploying money. I'm not a private equity firm. It's all Lance Bachman's money. I don't have investors. I don't It's just a very different. I have partners. That's like I'm in the partnership world. But people will be like, oh, and I think private equity is the best thing that ever happened to home services. You know that I've said that to you multiple times. Like, there's no way you'll make a good living, you'll get rich owning home services businesses, but you'll never get wealthy without selling it. And there's a difference. There's levels to it. You can make a living, you can get rich, and then there's wealth, right? And you always get true wealth by selling companies. In my opinion.
Yep. And I would say that that's a pretty good standard. I would say that's usually true. But there's home services businesses that have owners that are clipping off $6, $7, $8 million, $10 million a year in profit. And when you're making $10 million a year in profit and you're investing it right, if you're not spending it all, which hopefully you're not at that level, but
well, if you're making that kind of money, you're not spending it all because you have money management skills. You just don't.
Well, I don't know. There's a lot of yachts out there roaming around the world that get repoed, repoed, that are 200 feet long. And so they're not necessarily, but
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, has private equity allowed our industry, roofing industry, to monetize an asset that wasn't previously monetizable? 100%. Right. When I was building my business, and even when it was $15 million in revenue, the business wasn't worth much. It was worth me and some of the team that were there. There's nobody willing to buy it. And all of a sudden now, anybody who's got two nickels that they can rub together wants to buy roofing companies and pay absorbent prices for them. So, I mean,
you just said that because you know how many people have watched what I've done in the last 3 years, and they're like, Lance, because of you, I'm going in the roof, and I'm going there, and then they're calling me up. They're like, how the hell are you doing this? I'm like, dude, like, I got 30 years of experience in other shit. I just happen to pick roofing as the widget this time.
We've got folks we're talking to, they might want to partner with us and say, hey, my buddy Steve, he was a banker. Now he's buying roofing companies. Or it's like, okay, if you want to partner with Steve, partner with Steve. If you want to partner with IHS, we can actually help you grow the business, develop your people, have things in place, have a proven track record across 25 brands. It's just a different story.
25 brands. How many of the owners are still with you, the founders?
The vast majority of them. Yeah, the vast majority.
It makes you very different because the majority of private equity firms, they wind up, and listen, I'm not saying they don't let founders stay, but the majority of them do go get military people, as you know, ex-military guys, which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this at all.
Yeah.
They go ex-military or ex-Ivy League guys, not ex-Ivy League, but Ivy League people, and they start putting them in place.
Sure.
And they start to run the business, and they think that it comes down to pivot sheets and Excel and what they learned in a fucking textbook.
Yep.
You and I both know that's the furthest from the truth. Can you talk about why? Because that's not your model at all. You want the founders to stay. You'll buy them without it, but you're going to get a good transition period. You have a bunch of leaders. You groom. I know you train leaders all the time. You talk about it.
Yeah.
Can you talk about why so many people aren't successful when it comes to that?
Yeah, people ask me about how do you maintain the culture, across, a decentralized service with 25 different brands. I've got a corporate team I'm overseeing right now. How do you maintain that culture? And I always say that is the absolute easiest thing, Lance. It really is. You partner with the right people. You don't lower your standards when you're partnering with companies. You hire the right people and you hold those people accountable to your core values. You do those things. You're not out there every day trying to incentivize people through ill-gotten or badly pulled together incentive plans. You're not pulling your hair out because you have a bunch of cultural divergences happening all over your brands. You partner with the right people, you hold them accountable, you hire the right people, and that's what we do here. That's what we've done since the beginning. It's since '97 when I started. But when we started acquiring brands, then it was looking for the right founders that wanted to stay on and continue to run their business. Now, I know the statistics in private equity. When a founder sells their business to PE, the average across all industries, that founder stays for 18 months. And oftentimes they leave earlier. They've just got a big windfall, a big payday. They don't like the way private equity manages the business because it's managed differently. It's no longer a piggy bank. So things change. We are very clear and upfront with our founders when we make partnerships with them. Every podcast I talk about, I embody the culture of what we're doing. And I tell people we are truly looking for partners. That means we're going to run the business the way you had the business running before, and anything that needs to change about that up front. I'm not going to wait till after we close. I'm not going to give you the sales pitch and then close the deal and then say, yep, by the way, you're way too, porked up and we got to fire half your people, which, by the way, I get stories all the time now. And I'm sure you do too if you're in the space. I was told this, and 3 weeks after we closed, they fired 25% of my staff. It's insane to me. Founders walking away, founders leaving because they're promised certain things, and then that's not true. Now look at my ask of an honest PE firm would be, just be honest with them. Listen, if you want to be part of our platform, I need you to cut 25% of your staff. This is what makes sense. This is how we are. But that's not what they do, because they want to get the deal and they want the enterprise value. They want the multiple arbitrage.
People don't understand the multiple arbitrage of what. So, I don't know. I've sold 6 companies now, and I've gotten paid every earnout except for this one now, right? And the irony is, Josh, I'll never do an earnout again, ever. Under any circumstance, there'll never be an earnout. I don't give a fuck, right? And I'm fortunate that I don't need to. So, I'm just never doing an earnout. I don't control the business. I'm not in charge of the financials once I sell it. If you make any decision you want. And listen, I'm a strong personality guy. I think you agree that. I'm not afraid to tell someone. We've been in the rooms together. I'm not afraid to say yay or nay, pretty directly, right? But once I sell you my company, you bought my company, right? And it's amazing to me when you talk about bad characters is people go in, like you said, and they'll say all the right things to you. And then next thing you know, once they have your company, you have no control. And fortunately, I have the financial means after selling 6 companies. I can survive and hire lawyers and do what I have to do. Most people can't.
Right.
Most people cannot. And you're going against big machines. And, people don't realize, how do you feel about earnouts? Because that, I feel like, is going to become a hot topic for people. Because I've only dealt with good people up until one. 6 companies, always been paid, always been transparent, shows me the financials, show me where I'm at, tell me where I'm going. And one guy who I sold to gave me a 1-pager and said, yeah, we're not paying you $3 million, Lance. I said, excuse me? I was like, 1 page, can you just, can you let me see the financials? Can I go through them? And you can understand this, Josh. Does any of your business have $1.5 million in total other expenses on a P&L at the end of the year? 1.5 and just total other expenses, just a column, total other expenses, just hidden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Corporate burden, whatever they might want to add in there. Yeah. So
you get it. You get right where I'm going.
Yeah.
But that's the problem. Uneducated people get screwed all the time. I always use the word uneducated because you go in trusting people.
That's what it is, Lance. These documents are hundreds of pages long. I've got a friend of mine who had a landscaping business that he sold to a private equity firm with an earnout structure. And nowhere in all the documentation, except for one small little fine print area of the doc that his lawyer missed, was this corporate burden charge. And so what you're talking about is revenue recognition. Are they using GAAP analysis in order to do the financials? Most small business owners, heck, most large businesses aren't following GAAP.
Cash, full, all of it.
Right. They're on some sort of accrual financials or something, or even cash. But yeah, so they sacked this guy with a buddy of mine with some obscene corporate burden, like 8% or something of revenue. And so he didn't hit his earnout, and now he's suing. So my overall opinion on earnouts is it's interesting, right? You meet a lot of entrepreneurs who say, my business is at its peak of all time. I think I can keep growing it. I don't want to sell now. I think 25 or 26 will be my best year ever. If it is my best year ever, I'd like to get paid on that. And so that's where an earnout might be interesting, right? It's like, fine, I'll pay you for the value of the business today, and I'll also pay you for incremental value you create over time. There's a few problems with that. One is, we know as IHS, we bring value to the business. And so we are going to basically help you make us pay you more money at the end of the day, right? And so that's part of it. But the second is exactly what you're saying. We don't put a corporate burden. We don't put any type of a burden on our brands. But there's revenue recognition questions that happen. Maybe they weren't following GAAP financials before, and now they are. Maybe they weren't doing percentage complete accounting, and now we have to.
Think about this one, Josh. I had no debt on the company ever. And then you go borrow from Live Oak Bank 70% of the revenue I'm doing a year, take a loan, right, to finance the company.
Yep.
And then you count that against me for my earnout.
Well, it's not it shouldn't be an adjusted EBITDA, but
no.
Yeah, but So you have a bad. Those people were very honest.
The management fee, but that was one of the first companies I sold. And I tell people that story, and people are like, "Man, Lance, why are you so honest? Because you have so much success, and now you took a bad beat." I'm like, "Do you think Donald Trump hasn't taken bad beats? Yeah. No one reads what would you say the average deal size documents are? 300 all in, 400?
Yeah, or more. Yeah,
if not more. No one reads every page of the documents. Josh, you don't. You rely on your legal team. Right. Yes or no?
Yep.
I relied on my legal team. They dropped the ball. But not even drop the ball, because like I said to them, you can never prepare for someone to hand you a one-page financial and say, I'm not paying you.
Yeah.
No one could ever prepare someone for that. And that's where I say to people all the time, make sure, and that's why I'm advocate even more now for the private equity firms. Like, I always work private equity firm with you because I know you can't stand it. Guys like you that I know are good people in the business. I think Vertex still, even though they have some problems here and there, everyone has problems in their companies. Everyone does, right? But they're good people. They have good intentions. Dennis, Raj, I could tell you Persia, Greg at Alloy, good people. Tim at Canopy. Like, you guys are, I want to say, like, the generals leading the charge of good people. If you were going to sell a company and I had to rank them, I'm going to say, go talk to these 4 or 5 right here.
Yeah.
And then if you can't work it out with these 5 guys, you probably don't have a business worth selling.
What about the other 2,500 PE firms that are in the space now?
You want me to be frank with you?
Yeah, no.
They're dog shit.
Yeah.
Listen, they call me all the time to send them deals. What do you think my deal flow looks like with my social media presence, Josh? You've seen the DMs, Jay. What do you think my deal flow looks like? What do you think? You think it's good or bad?
Probably pretty good, Lance.
But I can't take it all. I can't do it all. I don't buy companies. I partner with companies, right? So what happens is I would never send them to these guys that reach out to me where I know there's search funds, there's 30 people on the cap table. You're using and deploying your money the right way. You have a leadership program. I want to talk to you about how you recruit and train leaders, because I know you invest a lot into that because you believe in it. But so are the few other good characters that are running their PE firms the right way. But like you said, the other 2,500, I can tell you right now, one of my buddies, I'm not going to say his name, he's a good guy. He's very popular in the space. He's like, Lance, I'm going to start doing roll-ups like you. And I started laughing. I'm like, do you just think, like, I'm just taking people, putting them together, and it's all hunky-dory? Do you believe this is, or do you just, you don't understand all the problems, all the friction, all the pain points, all the integration, all the implementation, all the heavy lifting that this leadership team has to do every day? But before we jump into that, I want to talk to you about how are you recruiting your leaders and how you train them, because it's amazing what I've seen you build. Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Service Titan and Rilla, our technology of choice to helping us scale and grow our business, and making sure all of our viewers have the technology to scale their business so when they want to sell it, they're able to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it starts with culture, Lance. I know that sounds, a lot of people think that's not important. It's like, what exactly are you doing tactically in order to recruit good people for your organization? People hear about IHS, they hear about the things that we're doing. Our staff of 1,200 tell stories about us. We have so many people that come to us that want to work for us, that want to be a part of this greater mission, this greater vision to rid the world of unscrupulous contractors. And it's frankly, it's quite simple for us to recruit people for this organization. Aside from just the inbound folks who see us and understand who we are in the industry and want to come for work from us, we promote people from within. And so I love what ABC Supply has done over the years, and some of these brands that have really taken folks from the warehouse and had them run, all the way up through the organization to be the COO, right? I think that's just awesome. The commitment that these teams are making to their employees, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. We also have a stellar HR department. My head of HR here is fantastic. We have a full recruiting team that's out there pounding the pavement and recruiting in specialty areas where we need recruiting. So we support our brands in that aspect. And then for executive level searches, which, we're not doing, we hire recruiting firms, the biggest and the best to find us the right people. So, but recruiting hasn't been an issue. We're able to fill our open recs pretty quickly.
What about training? What do you do for training? So afraid that you recruit, you tell a story, you got a great company. What do you do for training? You have to have a training program for these people.
Well, depending on what level you're talking. So every department, we have leaders in every department that train their staff, have onboarding programs to bring them into the program, inculcate them with the IHS culture and the way we do business by department. On the training, it depends on the brands. We don't, I think this, I don't believe in a command and control, and I don't believe in an ethos where me from the ivory tower spits out sales protocol that all 25 brands need to use. That's not the way I run the business. And so each brand has their ability to tweak and train their sales programs, their sales training programs, excuse me. We're a little bit more prescriptive on the operational side of the business because we think we have a good mousetrap there. But a lot of it's cross-brand training, Lance, and then some of it comes here from the corporate team as well.
There's levels to this. I told you, I'm good friends with Tommy Mello. I love you. I'm impressed by what you built. I tell guys like you, I bend the knee to, because to build the revenue you've done, there's levels to this shit. People are always like, Lance, you could do what Tommy did. You could do what Josh does. You could do what this guy does. I could, but I don't want to. I know the kind of work they got to put in. I know they're playing chess. I'm over here winning checker games like there's no tomorrow. I'm just having fun, just building companies and selling to these guys. I don't want to be them.
You're winning a lot of checker games, though.
Can you talk about the levels, though, of what it takes to build a 1 million, a 5 million, a 25, 50 million? 50 will be my max. I told you I'll never go above 50.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the levels of what it takes to build 100 to 50 from 1 million? Like this, it's a totally different CEO. It's a totally different leader. Can you talk about it?
Yeah, it is. I would say broadly, though, that I think a lot of young entrepreneurs, some of these businesses that I'm saying that are sub 10 million, they're putting way too much complexity in the business too early on. They're reading too many leadership books, trying to create org charts and structures and pivot tables and spreadsheets. And it's not needed in this business. If you're sub $10 million right now, hustle alone, founder led everything, and maybe even up to $20 million, you're going to win. I mean, that's what you need. You need to hustle. You need to get up early in the morning. You need to bust your ass, and you need to sell jobs and produce those jobs. And you can run a $10 million company. I mean, I can run a $10 million company with my eyes closed right now.
You run on a Google Doc if you really wanted to. I mean,
that's exactly right. I was talking before about the RCA cameras. I found a picture of a contract in 2005 that I sold a roof to a customer. I had work orders, purchase orders, all on paper, and job profitability metrics. And so I was actually doing all my job costing back when I just started the business. But so yeah, $10 million business, maybe to $20 million. Hustle alone is fine. 20 to $50 million roughly. You need good managers. You need good processes in place if you want to scale and grow the business. You need to continue to iterate on your systems day in and day out to get better. At the level that we're at now, $200-300 million, $500 million, $600 million, you need infrastructure. You need a strong executive leadership team. You have to manage through your people. You need data integrity, scalable systems, and you need a purpose, Lance. At your event, I talked about the triad, purpose, trust, and clarity, what it takes to run a growing organization. You got to have a reason for your people to want to go to work. You have to have a trusting environment where you're holding people accountable and they feel like they can believe in what you're saying. And you have to have operational clarity. Things move a lot slower now, right? So I'm always working to, at this level, make sure my business stays agile, make sure that there's a balance between the speed and the quality of the decision making. But you've got to have organizational clarity. Like that is a key at this level of the organization. When I'm thinking about planning, when my business was 20 million, if I wanted to change a CRM, if I wanted to change an operating principle or sales tactics or whatever, I could make that decision on a Friday and implement it on a Monday. At this scale, you're talking about discovery, planning, really, really thoughtful planning so you don't break a lot of stuff, and deployment that happens over months and sometimes over years. And so you have to be thinking way further out into the future. It's like when you're driving, right? I used to race motorcycles, and you always tell people when they first start driving, first start riding motorcycles, look way out in front of you. Do not look at the road in front of you. Right here, look way out. And the bigger the business gets, the further your head has to be up, the further out you have to be looking. I spend 90% of my time right now on strategy, coaching, trying to build my team, where before I used to spend 90% of my time tactically coming up with sales programs, driving marketing and conversion. So it's just a different level you manage at.
Question for you, because I'm a Service Titan fan. I know you have your own technologies, but I love Service Titan. Yeah. And then I told you to go on. I was like, Josh, scrap what you got, and just go to Service Titan, right? And you're like, Lance, I got millions and millions. I built this. I'm like, just scrap it. What does a dashboard look like for a $500 million company? Because listen, I got them for 40 million, 30 million. 20 million, 10 million. I got a bunch of dashboards, KPIs I manage through Service Titan, which I love. But what does a $500 million dashboard look like? What are you looking at? What's the KPIs every day? I know you're looking. Don't tell me you're not.
Yeah. So to be honest, Lance, it doesn't look much different than it did 20 years ago. So I honestly think whether you're running a $10 million business or $1 billion business, I look at my people score, right? So I look at the one thing I'm looking at is, our open recs, like what is our fill time? What's our turnover rate? What's our employee feedback? I'm looking at our customer experience. How many reviews are we getting on a weekly basis? What do our brands look like? What are our NPS scores and how are they changing? So, and then we measure prosperity. And so prosperity, I can see on a daily basis, leads that are coming in. So leading indicators of the business, your leads, your appointments, your conversion rates, your closing rate, all of my sales and production numbers. I can see those, weekly through our BI tool. And then of course I'm as a CEO, I've got to manage the P&L, look at the balance sheet, make sure our cash flow is strong. And then aside from those, dashboards that I'm looking at, then it's, we manage the business through the X matrix. So each one of my executive leadership team have objectives that they're planning to hit throughout the year. So I'm looking at those OKRs. How are we tracking towards the objectives? Where might we need to pivot? If we're not tracking for one of those objectives, how are we, what can I do as a leader to help remove some roadblocks? So those are the things I'm looking at.
We talked about me selling you months, doing business together. We're friends. You never took it personal. Like you're like, oh, I get it. Like, hey, listen, like you kind of like me. It's never personal. If you want to do it, let's do it. If not, you're my friend. We're going to move forward. Here's a question for you. Because I've never had a red flag with you when we talk business. I've never had a red flag with Vertex. It's funny. Someone said something negative to me about Vertex the other day, and it threw a red flag to me about the guy I was talking to. He wanted to partner with me. And he was like, well, Vertex retraded me. I'm like, that's bullshit. I've known these guys for years. I've 20 plus deals I've sent these guys and never heard one retrade, and I've been part of it. And I'm like, so like it threw a red flag to me about the guy that wanted to partner with me. Make sense? So like really threw a red flag. Canopy, same thing. What's a red flag? Because I've had them from other people, but I never had a red flag with you. So people watching, what should be some of the red flags when they're selling their business to a PE firm? Because not everyone's coming to Josh Sparks. So you probably buy one out of every 200 deals you see. I'm assuming somewhere in there, 1 out of 100.
Probably 1 out of 1,000.
There you go. Horse's mouth, 1 out of 1,000.
We see a lot of deals. Yeah.
Good. Can you tell me what the red flag you should see?
Red flags as far as companies that want to come to me for us to acquire them, what I'm looking for.
No, we could talk about that. If they're going to sell to a PE firm, what should be the red flag for a
sell to a PE firm? Yeah, I mean, if I'm selling my company to a PE firm, Lance,
just tell me, shoot me straight, man.
Yeah, I would say that you need to spend more time with them. it's amazing to me. People will sell their businesses over a fucking Zoom call and spend no time with what's happening. Now, listen, that might be a nice quick payday for you and your family, but if you don't care about the people in your organization or the customers or the what you built over time, then fine. But if you actually care, and every single entrepreneur I meet says they care, and I'm sure some of them don't, but everyone says they care. You need to spend time. If they're saying that, we're the only option and that and they're trying to rush you into getting a deal across the finish line, they're only doing that for their benefit, right? People often forget, and I've said this before, but if you're selling your business to a PE firm, it's likely you're talking to a business development person. Business development people make commission when you sell.
Explain that to people. You call it business development. I call it a salesperson, just to make life easier for people. Can you explain that, Josh?
Yeah, they're business development people. So companies hire salespeople, and C2C is business development people to go out and make relationships with contractors, and they also hire brokers. And so it's interesting, these brokers that are calling you, some firms will pay them 5% of enterprise value. So think about that. You sell your business for $10 million. Just for the phone call, they're getting paid $500,000 for a phone call to connect you. And then oftentimes they'll pay another business development guy on their team a commission in order to get the deal across the finish line. They don't care because it's all add backs in a credit agreement. So it's I don't want to get too in the minutiae here, but
you get the gist of it. It's salespeople. It's not Jeff Sparks. It's not the guy that's going to run the company, be the CEO, and be a partner with you. It's a salesperson.
Yeah. And so the red flags, I guess, change for everybody. Obviously, you want to do as much research as you possibly can on that firm. You want to talk to companies that are inside their portfolio. I would right now, if I was selling a company that I had to a PE firm, I'm going to ask a lot of questions. I'm going to meet the CEO of that company. If I'm not the platform, I'm going to go in there and find out. I want to spend a day with them or her. I want us to know what is your vision in this company in the future? What's your vision on my people? How have you reacted to downturns in the economy in the past? Is the first thing you do fire a bunch of people, or are you okay taking a slight dip in performance to keep our valuable people? Questions like that. Those are things I'm going to ask. I'm going to want to talk to every single person in the platform. I would. We have companies, Lance, that we partner with that have called and met every entrepreneur that we partner with, everyone, all brands.
So when I was talking about it with you, you were like, we'll talk to whoever you want. You flew to my office. You had drinks in Vegas. Like, you are the most accessible man I've ever met at your level.
Right.
Well, I text you text me right back. Like, it's like, you are just accessible. Like, but that's how I know you're a good person.
Yeah. I appreciate that, Lance. So those are some of the things that I would look at. There's you now as an owner of a roofing company. If it's a good business that's been growing over time, you have a lot of options. And all of which pay you pretty well. Don't be sold the song and dance. I can't tell you how many times, and I don't want to get too deep, but we had a very good outcome. You mentioned that I sold my business twice. In fact, I've actually only sold my business once, because the second time we traded partners, I rolled every penny that I had. So I didn't take a penny off the table.
I didn't want to say the story, but I love that. Like, that gets me. Like, you talk about belief.
Right.
You talk about, I believe. What was their reaction when you said, I'll roll 100%, let it rip? What was their reaction? They had to be like,
these are two large private equity firms that we partner with, and I'm the single largest shareholder. We, individual shareholder. I'm on parity with close to being on parity with both of them. So north of $100 million. So I believe in what we're building. Every company we partner with, I have to believe in it. So
I've never heard of anyone. The second biggest roll I ever heard was Tommy Mello, that rolled close to 50%. Mm-hmm. I've never, ever, ever, ever heard of anyone saying, let it rip, I'm rolling 100%.
I think I told you this already, but you know who it was? It was my wife. I'm like, I'm going to roll 50. I'm going to roll 70. And she's like, Josh, why the hell wouldn't you bet on yourself? You've been betting on yourself your entire life. And I thought to myself, yeah, you're fucking right. It's like, why would I not bet on myself? If I'm staying on as a CEO. And
I love your wife.
Yeah. And she's like, do it. And I'm like, all right. I mean, and again, but so nice. I have had other companies. I've sold other businesses. I've fortunate to have made good money over a long career. And so it wasn't such that if I lost it all, my kids aren't,
getting fed. So I was still.
Yeah, you want to do something pretty cool together? I just had an idea. Want to collaborate on something pretty cool? And I'll do the heavy lift.
You tell me what it is.
I'm going to make a checklist of all the questions you should ask your private equity firm if you're going to sell your roofing company. And then you can edit it, add your version to it, and we'll publish it together. You in?
Done. Not just
that's as good as it gets.
not just ask what you should do as well.
That's what I'm saying. I'll do the heavy lift. I know you're busy. I know I'm running a little checker game over here while you're playing chess, baby. But I will put it together as my way of giving back to people and saying, here, listen, these are two credible sources. I've sold 6 companies. Most people never sell 6 companies in their lifetime, right? I'm going to sell a lot more. Here, guys, here's a guy that built and rolled and has been through the process and has acquired tons of them. Here's a great checklist. Just go through it. Now, the other private equity firms might hate me and you, Josh, for doing it, but hey, education's power.
They shouldn't, because it makes the the good PE firms rise to the top.
No, the good ones aren't going to care. They're going to thank me. I guarantee they probably fucking duplicate my shit in yours. That's a whole different conversation. I mean, here, this is a question you should ask everyone. Here's a question for you. I don't want to hold you up too long because I do appreciate your time. You have built an amazing business. You're humble. Most of the guys that you're acquiring are guys that are trying to grow their company. I think the biggest problem when I can't grow their company and get stuck is themselves, meaning they can't get out of their own head. If I told you how many times people told me, if I fail, my wife will leave me. Do you know how like my heart bleeds for someone like that? Like I can never imagine thinking if my wife left me because I fail. I can see my wife leaving me because she says you're a total crazy son of a bitch and you're a maniac, Lance, but I can never see me failing and my wife saying I'm leaving, right? It's like, that's one. I'm afraid of what my friends will think if I fail. I'm afraid. Do you think a lot of people don't grow their businesses because they're so afraid they can't get out of their own way? I mean, what do you think the reason? I'm just asking because you see 1 out of every 1,000 you said.
Well, no. So 1 out of 1,000 that we partner with, we have certain criteria and who we want to partner with, the type of business, where geography, type of team. So there's a lot of factors. A lot of those businesses are saleable, but just not to us. Maybe that's not a cultural alignment. But what I would say is that in my years, that companies that aren't able to scale, that want to, there's a lot of lifestyle businesses that they just don't want to. They want to sell a few jobs here and there. They want to make enough money to pay the mortgage and buy a boat, and they're fine with that. But for the companies that want to scale, it is almost ubiquitous that it's ego, that it's a founder bottleneck, that the owner of the company thinks they know more than they do. They think the way they do it's the best way. They're resistant to change. They're resistant to learning. They don't know how to delegate. Socrates, who is the greatest Greek philosopher of all time, said that the only true wisdom is knowing you know nothing at all. And I've always taken that approach, and it's interesting. When I sold the first time, our business was I think about 40 million, and it's tracking for over 60 this year. I learned stuff from $10 million roofing companies that had just a little tweak, doing something a little bit better than what we were doing. And if I had been an arrogant owner or had a big ego, I would say, hey, my business is bigger than yours. There's nothing to be learned here. And I think you see that a lot with small companies. In fact, I don't talk to all these small companies anymore. We've got a great team that supports, but I've talked to guys who are in a market like Minnesota that say they're doing 8 million in revenue and they're the biggest in the market. And it's like, okay, he doesn't even know his market, So yeah, I think
9 million. He told me he's one of the biggest roofing companies in Knoxville, Tennessee. I just started laughing.
Right. Well, I didn't.
You know that market very well. 9 million is not even putting in the top 50 companies in Knoxville.
Yeah, I wouldn't laugh at him like you would, Lance, but I just told him that I think he would be paid.
I try not to be rude, but like if you say something that stupid. Right. Yep.
Well, he's probably got suppliers in his ear and manufacturers in his ear telling him that he's the biggest because they want to pump up his ego or because that's
the worst thing they could do. They should tell you truly where you are on the depth chart, because if you know where you truly are on the depth chart, you know where you can go.
Right. Yeah. That's fair. But yeah, a lot of times it's ego, man. It's just that they can't get out of their own way. I would say that's a lot of issues.
Last question. What's next for you, brother? What's next for you guys? What are you guys building? Where does Josh Spark take it, and where do you end it?
Well, look, I've got a personal ethos. The first line of that ethos is I will undertake this day and every day with the sense of duty to be better than I was yesterday. So every morning I wake up, when I say my ethos, I think about it, but this involves friends, family, and business. So look, I'm just trying to iterate on myself and just try and become a better person every day. That's what I do. And so where we end up, who the hell knows? I don't know. What I do know is that I spend quite a bit of time, practicing Stoic philosophy. Big fan, as you know, I'm a big fan of Marcus Aurelius, who says that the happiness of your life is dependent solely on the quality of your thoughts. So, I'm cold plunging, I'm working out, I'm spending time with my family. I'm trying to build this business the right way. I'm trying to navigate the world to make the world better when I'm gone. And so that's what I'm doing.
Last question. Should everybody have to ice bath every day?
You want to be a better human, a better version of yourself, jump in the ice bath. I'll tell you what, you'll have a reckoning the first time you jump in that thing, and you'll say, why in the hell am I doing this? You still doing it?
Yeah, every day. Go to my social channel. I'm not a big social media guy.
I don't know.
Yeah, go to my social channel. You see people popping asses, puckering, they're jumping out.
And yours in your house?
Yeah, I got two of them. I got one downstairs in my basement. I got one outside. So when people work out, there's always people at my farm. So people come over. There was two people here this morning. The one guy jumped out. Josh, his name was Josh, just coincidentally from Missouri, right? They're from Missouri, right? Joe's company, Joe Boy, nice guy. So they're here to the shop tour. They're hanging out, and he literally went in, jumped right. Oh my God! He couldn't believe it. He had a heart attack almost. But like, I loved it. I have to do it, like, for my own mental. Like, it's just like I think about this. I believe in so much. I have two in my home.
Yeah. It clears your mind. It sucks. It never gets easier, but it's interesting because you do in the morning when you're done with it, the hardest part of your day is over almost every day.
So I do it twice a day sometimes.
Wow.
Now the second time I just jump in and out. Like when I go, like today, I've been up since 4. So like my blood sugar goes a little bit low in the afternoon. I get tired. So I'll take a 15, 20-minute power nap. When I get up, I walk downstairs. I just jump in and out, and then I go back up and shower, and you're ready.
Okay.
So just give you a jolt. Listen, brother, I want to thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're busy. You're a good man. I will tell anyone listening to this podcast, Josh Sparks would be one of the best people you could ever have a partner with, even though I didn't. Had nothing to do with Josh, and he knew it. It just had to do with, but you never know what the future holds. I said that to you then. The future, you never know where the future is going to hold for people, and relationships matter. But I can tell you this, man of character, great company. Everyone he partners with seems to love him. And Josh, I just appreciate what you do for not just the roofing industry, because I think everyone from any industry can take value from you. So just thank you for being a friend to me, always being good to me, and making time for me.
Of course, man. No, not a problem at all. Looking forward to catching up here soon.
You too, brother. If you need anything, let me know, Josh.
Will do, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, later.